Hello everybody, this is Jacques Gaines, and today I'm going to be talking to you about a photo shoot I had quite a while back with a girl named Gabrielle, and we're going to be talking about retouching services. Why not make an experiment, work with some people I work with here, retouch a photo myself, and send it out to a couple of retouchers to see what they could do. And what happened was I came up with this photo retouching services blog post, and we're going to talk about that today. We'll start with the behind the scenes of the actual photo shoot with Gabrielle, and then after that we'll talk about the retoucher services and whether they're worth it or not. Stay tuned. Really briefly, just so you know, because it's kind of fun to know, the behind the scenes on this video is simple. She contacted me, so we got in touch. We came up with a couple of looks. The looks were very portrait style because she really didn't need a portfolio. She needed portfolio shots, and that was the most important thing. What I did was I planned the beginning of the shoot to be flash photography all the time because the setup can be quite long and it gives me a chance to set everything up before the model comes in. My setup is the following. It is a beauty dish, a tent beauty dish by Strobe Pro, and it's about 36 inches. It's pretty big. And I place it as a key light right in front of the model, and that is it. I use a grid. I have a background that is white, and I just said that is it, but I did use a flash on this to color the background. So the background on this one is blue. So these shots right here, I put just a white flash to light up the background. That's about all I use when I do these portraits. When I did this photo shoot, I was starting to get into natural light, and some of my shoots are just dominated by natural light. Even when I'm in a studio, a lot of times I'll open the windows, make them really nice and wide open, and start shooting in natural light. I was very lucky last year to have a studio that had amazing natural light coming in. For almost a year, all my studio shoots were dominated by natural light. Suffice to say, I did a flash photography shoot at the beginning. Then after that, I said, Gabrielle, the sun is coming into the window. If you don't mind, we could do some natural light. So we did do natural light shot. And so here's what the studio looks like right here. I'll just show you guys. When you look at this shot, you see that the natural light comes in from the windows on the side here, and then they flow in. And I love the way the diffuse light comes in, and you can play with natural light. I mean, the bonuses of natural light have always been the fact that when you see a shot, you just shoot it. You don't have to think of whether the flash is recycling or any of that, so you can get a great shot. Now, after doing this shoot, I really did like the shots that we took with the flash, and I started thinking about retouching in general, and just by chance, one of those retouchers on Instagram contacted me. And so I had been contacted by a couple. I had worked with one called Linda Ibaza, Retoucher, I believe is the name of that retoucher. I worked with this person, and things went really well, and I came up with some good stuff, but I started getting bombarded with other people wanting to offer their service as a retoucher. So I said, why don't I do a retoucher experiment? Why don't I take one of the shots that I really like, save it in a corner, and send it to all these retouchers and see what they come back with and see the results. So finally what I did was I picked this photo right here, and I said, okay, let's give this photo to all these different retouchers and see what they come out with. I'm just going to let you guys judge for yourself. You'll get to see my edits of this one photo, the edits of my friend who lives in Quebec City, his edits, and you'll get to see a couple of retouchers and how they approach. They're dramatically different. And so here you go. Let you guys watch the slideshow, and we'll see you guys on the other side. For the pros, you get surprisingly good photo retouching with short delays. So they'll always ask you what your delay is, and it is pretty quick. Normally they respect their delays and you don't have any problems, so it's quite good for that. The other thing is that the retouching services are very affordable. It can be like really cheap. It can be $4 per photo, and it can be more depending on which retoucher you take and how much they're in demand. The other thing is that most overseas retouchers adapt to your workflow. So they'll use Dropbox, WeTransfer, Google Drive, and even PSD files if you want to further the edit. And one of the other big things that I find that might be a bonus is that these overseas retouching places will be excellent if you're in a bind. For example, a wedding photographer who gets back from a shoot and has another wedding to do. Well, if they can just do a triage and come up with 5 or 6 or 10 photos that they like, they can send very well retouched photos to the client pretty darn quick. If you have a specific retouch job, don't go to these retouchers. It's not a good idea. If you say, well, listen, I do want to have lighting, but I would like it to have a warm feel to it, not the place. Just not the place, because any sort of instruction that you give that's a bit more detailed will definitely, they just don't always get it. So you sort of have to mold yourself to their way of working. Now, also, if you're a bit nervous about where the money goes, be vigilant. I worked with PayPal. When you work in the Eastern Bloc countries, sometimes the money transfer system is a bit different, so it can be a bit tricky. You might not always like what you're about to do, so just be very, very careful. Also, another bad point is that you're in a lineup of edit jobs. You know that. So there is a cookie cutter aspect to each of these photos. If you want something better, you might have to pay a bit more. Sort of brings me back to the same point before, is that if you really want to get into specifics, it's not the place. Also, another thing to watch out is once they've reeled you into the first job, quality edits tend to peter out. So be careful who you work with. If they're good all the time, go for it. Try to find that editor that'll always come up with something that you like, because they'll tend to just throw you back something that's not great. Also, another thing is that I have a feeling there's like hundreds of jobs going on at the same time. You never really know who is working on your photo, so you're talking and communicating to someone online, but you don't know if it's the actual person working on the photo. Also, time zone differences can cause weird delays, so if you're working with someone in Southeast Asia, you'll have to watch out for that. Make sure you pay attention to what time you send it and what time you ask them to send the photo back. So there it is, guys. Have you ever experienced working with overseas retouchers? Is it something that you might think of doing? Just let us know in the comments. You guys like, share, subscribe, and don't forget, everybody, keep on making something from nothing.